There's a couple people that aren't here yet, but we're going to go ahead and start. Welcome to your walkthrough. Some of you have done this before, and some of you are brand new at it, and I'm going to try and modify the tour so that it's not too repetitive. Please feel free at any time to ask any question that comes to mind. I'd like to first introduce to you behind you Greg Castile. Greg is the city's on-site project manager. He's the one that is here day in and day out that the fellow in the other trailer who just left, Mark Scherzel, builds the project as per the plans. Greg will also be here to answer any of your technical questions that you might have. What you're looking at is a concept that really started in the mid-'70s. The original park master plan for Memorial Park called for a community center site. But something happened in the late 70s which made the future of funding very gloomy, and that was Prop 13. So all plans for a community center were scrapped. And this city scaled down the concept and went with a senior center on the corner of Mary and Stevens Creek, which we've used readily for the last decade. The concept of a community center kicked up again in the early 1980s when a consortium of school staff and city staff felt that there was a need for this kind of structure in the community, and the closure of all these elementary schools meant that public buildings were becoming scarcer and scarcer. So a research task force was put together comprised of city officials and school board officials to research if any of these old school sites would lend itself towards a community center. That team did their study for a couple years and determined that although there were a couple sites, specifically Jollyman, you may recall the old Jollyman Elementary School, perhaps made sense in terms of location and potential, that it would be more costly to remodel this old school for a community center than to build something like this from the ground up. So the recommendation out of that committee was that if any elementary school was going to be used, Jollyman should be it, but a real preference would be to build a center to meet the needs of the times rather than try to remodel an elementary school. So with that recommendation, City Council formed another task force in 1985. In 84, City Council decided that any community center that we build would be on this site, which was the final phase of Memorial. So in 85, a new committee researched community centers in municipalities all over the Bay Area, studied them, talked to the staff, and with that information put together a program for this building. Then a third committee was formed, comprised of neighborhood representation, city council representation, city staff, and commission, to try and work out some of the concerns that a building of this style has for the immediate residents. The classical columns and colonnade look. We tried to update it with some modern architectural styles, and of course we have the Spanish heritage with the tile roof, so it's kind of a blend of those three styles. Another program element that was very important to the committee was that we wanted to not hide the park, but we knew with this rather massive building in this location, that was easy to do. So one of the criteria was that the center lobby would have a lot of glass, and it would give you a visual perspective through the building and into the park. And once the park is developed behind, so that as you approach the building, you'll see a lot of glass and the green behind it, a fountain that I'll point out to you a little later, we think will be a very striking entrance. Come on in. Lori, come on. This building was the first, that you can believe it or not, the first chance in over 30 years for the city to build a building. So we wanted this to be a very dramatic statement, and I think we achieved that with this lobby area. This is about 800 square feet. We wanted clear story all the way up to the highest point. The skylight adds a lot of light as well as the glass up archway. There will be center lounge seating in the middle of this, and basically what you have is this lobby divides the building. As you come in, to your right are principally recreation services. To your left will be the Historical Museum, Cupertino Community Services, and our community multipurpose room. Don't mention price. What it say? It's fancy. This is a 500 square foot conference room, can accommodate 34 in a seminar or training manner. It's going to be complete with those fancy boards you can write on and do displays and have a screen, a very fancy table. This counter work that you see in here is actually the counter for Carson Recreation Reception Area, and I'll tell you about that as we come back out. But this is principally a rather formal meeting room, and it will be used by everything from perhaps the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors to AYSO Administrative Board. Walk down the hall. This is a secondary hub to the building. This is where, again, there will be some casual seating areas right here in the middle so that patrons waiting to pick up their participants, principally kids in this case, have a place to wait while they're waiting for them to come out of preschool or arts and crafts class or a dance class. Let's move into the arts and crafts room. This is 1,000 square feet, and it's going to be undedicated space. By that I mean they're not going to have designated pieces of arts or crafts, tools or equipment. It's going to be multi-use in nature. It's kind of space in the bring in an ocean, e-class memori, and move perhaps to some place filter academ. We're not going to put kilns in, I'm not going to put lavadories, things like that. Linoleum 4. It has 2 exits, they're principally emergency exits. But we're to take advantage of that and have a nice bit of landscaping out here that kind of adds to the aesthetic value of this ring. One of the things with Lotus draw the building is you give about a second-story clear space. When that does give you a greater sense of space, also lets in some second-story clear lighting. Even this late in the afternoon, this is still a bright, cheery room. Okay, let me wrap. Yeah, here's what this over here. It's still peaceful. The thing about this film has stated it. Firstly, still a bit faint that are lost at the basso. They have small piece areas that are where you folks step now. There are station in the room or different kinds that per a place please stay at a past wheel or for the space so have the door. That's risk. Your fitness worker. Again, this will not be dedicated equipment. This is principally for exercise kinds of programs. So one of the things that had to be trimmed at the final stages of our plan was the sprung maple floor for this room. We didn't feel going into the award of contract that we would be able to keep this in and still meet budget. So this was removed, and it has significantly compromised the potential for this room as a fitness center. But we're investigating some pads that will go under the carpet that have been used in fitness centers around the country that will still give you some padding without giving you too much cushion to roll angles and things like that. So I can tell you that this is their office. It is not. It is my office. This is our activity social room. And again, it too will be multi-purpose. It can be used for everything from a guitar class to a small social gathering, whether it be a small wedding reception or a small house. It has a small story there, a little whirl fish outside. And as you look out this window, you'll be able to look over our pond and our fouling system. Now, you'll notice that that concrete kite. What we try to do is keep a little of the heritage of this site. This used to be an orchard, as you know, and orchards had standpipe here for their irrigation. We try to keep that deep and give some sense or some feel architecturally as the old standpipe. The water will go up the standpipe, trickle over the side, down the trough, and into our pond. Everything from this room to the ball field is sensitive landscape. There will not be side fields or any sort of active space. It is more passive in nature. You can see at the far end distant side of the ball field some concrete structure. That's going to be a good picnic area that will accommodate up to 175. Another part? Yes, good part there. This is the dance room. This will have a suspended naked floor. It has a built-in speaker system, and there will be mirrors polished to the 3 walls. The ballet bar sign on this wall. Obviously, his improvement. The program of dance. All of these windows both have the line down and many lines of privacy. it seems, and this was one of the rooms. That's why we didn't put windows to the hallway of you. So people feel very self-conscious in this particular activity, and so which we, while still having light, are able to giving a sense of privacy. And when we dedicate this building at the end of March, all of the recreation office operations will be moved to this site, some of which would be drugged from the building, screaming and crying and scratching and fighting. But Melanie will love it here, right, Melanie? We wanted them to be close to the lobby for a number of reasons. One of which is that we want patrons coming in to know that there is a museum and that it's right here, and as they're waiting to pick up fellow patrons or our children, they might browse around in here. Secondly, it's conceivable that for certain dedications or display exhibitions, we may want to scroll over to our lobby with that exhibition to have some sort of champagne reception, so they're not limited to just this 1,000 square feet in terms of potential special events. This does really serve some of their historical needs well. A lot of their displays would be better off without NASA light. But again, there were some requirements that had to do with, other uses that forced that on us. So what we'll simply do is cover the windows with blinds to try and keep the natural light out. This represents about 1,000 square feet. This
is a storeroom, a food.
That's picnic down, mates.
What I want to point out here is that we're about to move into a special use part of the facility, but actually one that, although may seem specialized, probably lends us the greatest amount of flexibility. And that's the community multipurpose room. And I emphasize multipurpose because it is not going to be just a recreation classroom, nor is it going to be just a private party room, or nor is it going to be just a banquet room, but it's going to be all of those things. And as we move into that space, I think you will see that we designed it so that this particular wing can function separately from the rest of the building, because most of its usage will be after traditional hours of operation. To that point, we've installed 2 large closable doors that we can virtually open up just the multipurpose room wing and never have to access this in for security reasons and what have you. To my right represents the potential for growth. We recognize that if we want to provide social services here, many social service agencies run in cycles. And so we provided 3 office spaces that will be used by whatever. Down the road, you may have a need for a public health nurse, maybe some family counseling. That's what this space is intended for, future growth for social services. In the interim, we're going to use the largest office as a small conference room, a place where you can have smaller group meetings than a larger conference room. Let's move into the multi-purpose room here. This space really serves multi-purpose room. This is going to be the lounge area. People can gather before we open the doors, so whatever's going to add in a multi-purpose. Where too we'll have lounge-type furniture, very much like you see in a hotel lobby, to people to congregate in and gather around. They can enter from the back side through these doors, or from the front parking lot through these doors. And again, the rest of the building will be secured from this use. Now let's move into our... This is about 800 square feet, 1,000 if you count that stuff. The lack in Cupertino is a bank room. And until the revival of hotels, this will be the largest banquet room in the city. This can accommodate 300 at round table, and up to 350 if you want to go with the standard cafeteria style. It's 4,400 square feet. Obviously, a lot of attention went into this room for detail and to give a very striking impression when you walk in. We also recognized one of the other things we had to cover is any sort of full-blown stage. Recognized that we had the funds for that, so what we've done is scaled down our stage area that, although may not be right for theatrical productions, certainly lends itself to small musical ensembles or small stage theater, perhaps readers' theater. But more importantly, it was beautifully for figure kinds of presentations. One of the concerns of the neighborhood was noise in the room after your layer out. There is a mechanism in this room that it bans or I suppose the speaker, gets above a certain decibel level, the power shuts off. This kitchen was designed with a care in mind. In fact, it was an system kitchen. It's all about projects. And as you can see, on top of it, you having two accesses to your main assembly area for moving cars in and out. We have a small restroom facility and the studio plaza to serve the kitchen crew. The room right behind you, as ladder is the washroom for the kitchen. That might all be dishwashing and several kinds of dishwashing hand room. A small pantry to your right. This space was designed for the caterer, not the food prep. By that I mean it's not going to be the kind of kitchen that's cooked from scratch.